if I watch two movies of equal intelligence, like let's say they're just stellar, super thought-provoking movies, but the one smart one, they're both smart, but one of them gets me emotional, is that inherently a better piece of art, though?
It depends. I mean, look, there's no hard and fast rules. I mean, you can have general principles rather than ticky-tacky little rules or whatnot. So many. Another woman that I was once hot for years ago. I saw about a year or so ago. She's trying to write her first novel, and she has these photos where she's plotting out on like her kitchen wall. Chapter 13. This is where I have to introduce the hero because, well, and it's like this is a terrible way to write. This is why things are so formulaic. You have to engage art, engage life organically. There has to be a certain simulacrum of reality in the art that you can emotionally and especially intellectually connect with. That's what connect. If you have, I, I'm repeating myself if you watch any of these many videos, but it's far more important to get behind a character's eyes than to know what color their eyes are. Who gives a shit whether I've got blue eyes or not? But what do my eyes see? Do I notice that little praying mantis that just ripped apart, an ant colony and is feeding on the ants? Do I notice that fat woman who no one looks at in the park sitting on a bench? Do I read a story about, say, a black kid who was just recently killed in February by these two racist motherfuckers down in whatever Yahoo southern town they are, or not? Or do I just go, oh yeah, another black guy killed in America? A big deal. Pass the popsicle. These are the things that define who I am more so than I'm a 50. Excuse me. Not COVID, not COVID, but just a little individual sneeze. But those are the things that define me more so than the fact that I wear eyeglasses or have blue eyes or have thinning blonde hair or have pale skin lacking melanin or am half Norwegian. Those are just the footnotes to who I am. But what I am essentially is an ephemeral thing because every atom in my body is going to be replaced between every 4.5 to 7 years. And when I'm dead, the only thing that's going to be Dan Schneider is the writing. And maybe some of these videos that you can see in 50 or 500 or 5,000 years if they last that long. These are the only things. And one of the reasons I do these videos is so that someone in 5,000 years looking back at me and saying, boy, it's so good that of all the ancients, like Homer and Dante and Schneider, I can actually see what Schneider was like because in the long span of history, the 2,000 years or so difference between me and Homer is going to be minimal to someone in 10,000 years.
Well, it's interesting because I think a quote like that was said in the third Vonnegut book. I don't know if you've ever read Mother Night.
Yes, but years ago. I'd read all of Vonnegut, but it's been many years.
Because I want to say I read that last September. I vaguely recall they made a comment in there like the only thing left of us will be art, something along those lines. What you just said kind of reminded me of that.
And art can transcend things too. There's a big problem with modern society and how to pass on information. Up in an island north of Norway called Svalbard, this was called the seed chamber. That in case we nuked ourselves or mankind went extinct or virtually extinct, the seeds of all of our major grains are stored in this granary underground in Svalbard, this island. And one of the things that they have a difficulty doing is how do they let people know in 5,000 or 10,000 years after said apocalypse happens that that's where it is and that they could go down there and, oh, here are grains that you can grow these types of fruits and one because they're freeze dried, they could last 20,000 years. And the same thing with nuclear waste dumps. How do we tell someone in 10,000 years that this is radioactive and you could die if you go into this area? Or something like Chernobyl. How do you set up? Because 10,000 years ago, there was all of the languages that we have now. We didn't even have the proto languages. Yeah, much less Middle English or Old English. That's only in the last 1,000 years. So developing communication beyond that that language barrier has always been difficult. Now, art can do that to a certain degree. If you're doing film, or without words, you can convey certain things that obviously I can't in writing. On the other hand, writing I can go much more interior than you can filmically. But that's a big problem, and how to the communication thing goes.
So it's interesting because really one of the things I really learned from Cosmoetica is emotion needs to be a byproduct of art. If you're like a good example would be Kubrick movies because I feel like people have often accused him of being emotionless.
Yeah.
But if you watch like his films, like Clockwork Orange,
Yeah.
I felt really bad for Alex. Even
Yeah.
though this guy's a horrible person, I felt horrible that the guy was getting tortured. Or same thing with Space Odyssey, which people say is cold and boring. But I actually really felt for those characters.
I
So
felt
it's
for Hal. First time I saw 2001 in 76 or 77, I remember watching it late night on a Friday or Saturday night when they would have the movie of the week. This is long before you were born, probably. Uh, and and I remember thinking to myself, the scene where Hal gets lobotomized by pulling out the red cones or whatnot, I felt bad. I started tearing up because even though Hal, we don't know why he's malfunctioned, and later retcons and later books say he didn't malfunction, he was programmed that way. But I felt bad for him because he seemed to be a sentient being. And even though he did some bad things, he was basically being slowly killed. And how you can say that wasn't emotional, I don't know. I remember Jessica and I saw this idiot on YouTube uh, ripping into Kubrick, saying, "Well, here's the beginning of 2001. We see the lions, and all we get is landscape, and then we get more landscape." And it's like, this guy's an idiot. I mean, but the world is filled with idiots in real life, online, whatnot. I try to ignore it.
well, I think the biggest problem is people feel like they have to have solidified opinions, and there's no objectivity. Like like there is objectivity, but I feel like people get so insular, like so closed-minded with their views. I feel like they have to have this set in stone opinion on stuff. Like like I can't. I might personally not like something, but I know objectively it's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the beginning of Space Odyssey, there's that whole thing with the apes, and it's one of the most memorable things is the tribalism that we see.
Mm.
I felt really bad when that one ape got the shit beat out of him.
Yeah.